Welcome to another video of Chuck and Susan in Mazatlan. We're going to move on to plastering of the pool walls. Now, this can be kind of boring process because basically it's just a guy smearing concrete all over the walls before they put the waterproofing on there. So I'm going to try to spare you the boring details and kind of shorten the video up and combine several days into one video. I hope this won't be too boring for you, so that's why I'm cutting it down. The first thing the guys did when they got here was they went ahead and measured out the swimming pool as it is, and then they called the boss man and told him exactly how wide all the walls were, because there is a certain width they need to be once they're finished plastering. And once they finished that, they started cleaning up the area for the plaster to come in. About 8:30, Jose, the gentleman in the yellow shirt, he's the crew boss, showed up with the plasterer in the blue shirt. His name is Gilberto, I think. And he started just giving instructions to I think he'd given more instruction to the helper guy. The plasterer knew what he was going to do, but I think Jose was trying to tell everybody exactly what they were going to be doing all day. The next order of business was mixing up the plaster in the bottom of the swimming pool. Basically, it's a mixture of sand, cement, it's got fiberglass fibers in it and some other kind of white powder. I'm not sure exactly what that is. I think it's some kind of waterproofing material that goes into it. But they all mix it up in the bottom of the pool, and then he uses it to put it on the walls. The plasterer then placed a board on top of the wall and made it overhang the wall just the width that he wanted the plaster to be. Now, you'll see him do this over and over again. He has a plumb bob that he hangs from the wall, and it gives him the exact depth that the plaster needs to be. Now, he does this at first just to make sure that there's no concrete that sticks out farther than what he wants the plaster to be. If there is, they chip it off. Unfortunately, the helper placed the fan right in front of the camera, but as you can see in the background, what he's doing is he's bedding the wall to the thickness that he wants, or close to the thickness that he wants, before he starts to level it out. It's kind of an interesting process, and you'll see it up close a bit later in the video. But what he does is he makes a pad at the bottom of exactly the thickness that he wants the plaster to be, and then he uses his plumb bob at the top board to run it down the wall to make sure that that plaster is exactly the right thickness. Then once that dries a little bit, what he'll do is he'll fill in the middle, and then he'll screed it out and get rid of all the excess. You can see that he's made his thickness in like 3 places on the wall and filled it in between. And he's just waiting for it to dry so that he can add more and then screed it out and get rid of all the excess. So he started on the other wall in the meantime while he was waiting for that wall to dry. Here he's throwing concrete on the wall just to kind of dry it out a little bit and make the process a little bit faster. Sometimes the concrete that the helper mixes up is just a little too wet and it's not able to be used. So he'll throw it up there, he'll wait for it to dry, and if it's not drying fast enough, he'll throw a little extra concrete. Here you'll see him putting on the extra, kind of like starting at the bottom and just rolling it to the top until he gets it to the thickness that he wants, and then he'll screed off the excess and make it smooth. The process is very similar to plastering a wall. It's just a lot thicker. I was kind of concerned for the safety of the plaster with all the debris there that they had not removed yet, so I called the pool contractor and asked them to come over and clean up everything so this guy wouldn't have to step all over everything and go get water for his concrete. They showed up that afternoon and they cleaned up the area, and that would be the end of day one. Day two started early with the helper showing up and going ahead and mixing up the concrete plaster before the plasterer arrived. This is what the pool looked like the morning of day two when they first got to work. He's starting in earnest on this wall today. This is what the pool looked like by midday. He had pretty much finished two walls and had started on the back wall, had started to fill it in. Here he has placed his board and he's starting to bed it in so it won't move, and then he can use this plumb bob. Here you get a better view of him using his plumb bob to figure out if there's any concrete in the way of the plastering. Here he's leveling up the back wall, and they're getting ready to finish up for the day. One final check with the tape measure just to make sure. And that's just about going to wrap it up for the day. It's a beautiful day in Mazatlan like always. Thank you so much for watching the videos. I appreciate it. And if you have any friends that like to see pool builds, please send them over to take a look at ours. Thanks again, and have a great day.